I have got, honestly, Jackal
None?
this week. I
Okay.
couldn't see anything, but I'm happy to go along with anything. I've got
Well,
one thing.
well, that makes a fantastic introduction to the video. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Up Late with Glenn and Chloe. My name's Glenn. That
My
must be
name's
Chloe.
Chloe. That's me.
I never give you the opportunity to come in and say that. I always say that's Chloe and
I'm
I
just going
fuck
to
it up.
push in. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'll remember that from now on. But as we were just sort of chatting about, both of us are pretty ill prepared for tonight's video.
We'll just
It's
go
been a
with the
busy
flow.
busy week for both of us. You've had your own stuff on the go. I've had Monster Fest, so I'm going to give that a bit of a plug to start with.
Do that, yes.
So for people that are watching this, as the video goes up on Wednesday night, there's still a few days left of Monster Fest. It finishes on the 12th, which is Sunday, and there's some awesome programming yet to be had. So if you're into genre films and horror films, not all of it is horror, but you know, jump on the Monster Fest website, monsterfest.com.au, and check out the program and get along if you can, because it's an amazing little film festival that's top class, world quality, world standard, whatever you want to say. Yeah, so
I'm so happy that it's going ahead, honestly. I'm so happy that it's gone ahead, especially with the last couple of years that we've had. It just makes me feel, even though that's not my favorite genre, it just makes me feel really good that
yeah,
this is able to go ahead and people can get out and do this kind of stuff again.
totally, and you can imagine the anxiety that was going through those guys as the restrictions were slowly being lifted and whether they'd get retracted. Because at one point they sold out most sessions, and that's because they could only have 20% capacity. And
Yep.
then they'd release more tickets as the thing went on. But they've had a few sold out sessions at full capacity, so that's great.
That's
And
awesome.
I just love it. You know, I get along every year. This year, Good Movie Monday, our podcast is a media partner of the festival, so you know
Nice.
it's been a good one. And yeah, so you know, I would like in future years, I'd love to get you along too, because I think what a lot of people that are not into horror don't realize is that it's possibly the most fun genre to be around people with when you watch.
Yep.
You know, because it's not necessarily scary, because not all horror is scary, but the kind of people that these festivals attract are the nicest people on earth, and they're fun. And part of Monster Fest is not the movies; it's the company you keep, and you know the mingling that you have at the bar or out in the foyer. It's really cool.
Yeah, look, I mean, life is hectic coming out of lockdown, so hopefully next year will be a little bit more calm where I am, and if it is, then I am all for it.
That's right. You know, look, you know, like I said, you've got your own life to live, but hey, if we can get you and the others on the team, you know, part of this little film community we got going on, you know, even if it's sort of once or twice a year, like bring it on. Like it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's to an amazing 2022, I say.
Autographs is $20 a piece, and jokes, jokes.
do, you, do you sign ass cheeks?
Yes,
Especially.
that's for free.
Pencil provided, just it's in there already. Just
Done.
hey, did you know last week's episode was our 20th?
I didn't. What?
I know we didn't acknowledge it at the time either.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I
20.
know. Yeah, 20 episode 20. This one being 21.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God, same age as me. I wish. That's awesome. That's so fun. That's gone
Yeah,
so quick as well.
it has, and that's because it's been fun. Now down to brass tacks. So as we sort of mentioned in the intro, we haven't got much to go on this week. What one thing did you have to talk about?
Well, I had a little bit of a teary before I came online because it just kind of popped out of nowhere and took me by surprise. The short little trailer release for the Harry Potter 20-year reunion, whatever it's going to be, and I had a little bit of a tear because I'm huge, massive. I mean, a lot of people are, but it was my life for a really long time, and I still haven't gotten over to Harry Potter World, and that's killed me. And it's just I love it, everything about that world, and I'm just so excited.
There is something I read, and I don't know the validity of it, but there was something going around about the possibility of them adapting the stage play into a film with the original cast, because they are at the right age now.
I did hear or see something about that as well, and I don't know about the validity of that as well. Um, they'd rake it in if they did that.
Well,
Honestly, they'd rake it.
if they, what's it called again? The something child,
The Cursed Child, and I saw it on
Cursed Child.
stage, and it was amazing. Thank
I
you for
know.
asking.
one of my friends is in that.
My old
but,
drama teacher is Snape.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Excellent. I want to say friend of the podcast, but Deborah Lawrence is in it too. You know, she's
Yeah.
amazing.
Mhm.
But I can't see any reason why the original cast would not want to do this. Daniel Radcliffe would be the only one I can imagine that wouldn't want to. But even then, I don't think that would be the case. I think they'd all jump at it.
See, I think different. I think he would jump at it because I see him as a very nostalgic person in real life. I think he would be keen to go and do something like that, and kind of cap it. You know, like
Yep.
just end it, and then he knows I'm not doing anymore. That's it. I've capped it. That's the end of our story. But the person that I would see that would have the most trouble getting back would be Emma, because she's so into her conservations and all that kind of stuff, and her lobbyist and whatever she's doing. I think she would be the hardest to get back, to be honest.
But imagine what she could do with the money that she makes from it.
Absolutely.
In terms of conservation, in terms of all her outreach. But I thought you were going to say Alan Rickman wouldn't want to come back, and I can't blame him.
I saw something really funny the other day. So this is a question that I ask a lot of people. Do you consider Die Hard a Christmas movie?
It's a no, like it isn't. There's no controversy about it. It is a Christmas movie, and it's
Great.
There's so many ways that you can argue for that.
Great. So I agree with you. And then I've seen this little meme go around Facebook saying that Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. It's Bruce Willis being chased around a tower by Severus Snape. So it's actually a Harry Potter movie. That's really hard to disagree with.
That's fucking stupid.
Don't. Of course it's stupid. But I think it's funny.
Well, I mean, the thing about the Christmas argument, like that's been going on for like 20 years now. Like it's done and dusted. Like it is a Christmas movie for so many reasons. Obviously set at Christmas, but if you listen to the score and the soundscape and the soundtrack all through it, it is riddled with Christmas carols. Mm-hmm. So the action sequences are staged to Christmas carols and Christmas songs, and it's undeniably Christmas movie, and there are so many action movies from the 80s that actually turn out to be Christmas movies when you think about it.
So you and Ben can talk about me after this, but I really need to ask you a question as well. Is Princess Bride a Christmas movie?
Well, you can poke that stick all you want.
It's a genuine question, because when you look in the background, it's snowing outside. You can see Christmas lights. There's a Santa on his wardrobe. I think technically that's a Christmas movie.
Do you actually? Or are you just saying this to sort of, play into the whole joke?
No, I'm not actually. I think it can be technically classified as a Christmas movie.
Okay, well, I disagree. I don't think it is.
Is that because the story of the Princess Bride isn't Christmas themed?
Well, that would be one reason. I don't think the Christmasness that's in there is prevalent enough to make it Christmas themed.
So, remind me of his name. Peter Falk.
Peter Falk
brings his grandson a Christmas present and reads it to him.
Well, there's nothing wrong with watching it at Christmas and incorporating it into your Christmas viewing.
And I will.
Yeah, of course you will. Well, we've got Professor Snappy over there.
Don't mess with me. Anyway, I wanted to bring that up because, I mean, while we're, hitting this ugly tree with a stick, we may as well bring that up as well. So that's why.
Do you want to lay out some context for people listening to this video?
Oh, so we have a little in-house feud about whether or not The Princess Bride is technically classified as a comedy.
But it's not an in-house feud. It's you against everyone else.
It's still in-house. I haven't had any personal backlash, and that's fine. Don't come for me. I'm a very busy woman. Yeah.
So your position on that hasn't budged since we had that discussion?
Not really.
That's incredible.
I would say it's got comedy incorporated, but I wouldn't classify it as a comedy.
That's all right. You can just you keep putting it out there for people. That's fine.
Got to keep the ball rolling.
It amuses me.
That's fine. Yeah, so let's add that to let's wait for Ben's reaction on that as well, as if it's a Christmas movie. Let's see if I can piss him off further.
I'll tell you one, the one you got to watch out for is Tia.
Oh, really? Did she come for me?
Yeah.
Did she really?
People have not heard it yet. It's going to be on our Christmas episode.
I'm going to need some whiskey in this coffee. Tia, what? What's going on, babe?
And for people that only watch our videos and don't actually watch or listen to the podcast, Tia is the person that runs our social media and does a lot of that stuff. So she's her presence.
And she does an amazing job.
Her presence is felt on every episode, but her voice and her face has never been revealed up until the Christmas episode that's coming up in a couple of weeks' time. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that now. I know. Hey, I forgot to run a timer. I have no idea how long we've been going for, but
me either.
We'll just run with it. I've got a rough guess here. See if we can bring it in on the half an hour. Hey, I did read that Tom Holland is playing Fred Astaire in an upcoming biopic.
Yes, I did see that, and I didn't put it on my list. How good is that? He's gonna nail that.
Well, he probably will. It's a strange fit, though. You know, Fred Astaire is a very, very small man, very petite.
So is Tom Holland.
Tom Holland obviously he's very schoolboyish. But I think physically he's going to have to really tone himself down drastically. I think it's a great. He's good. Will. Like, yeah. But I'm more excited about the fact that there's a Fred Astaire biopic coming. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I know someone in my life here that's gonna love that. They're gonna love it, and I'll try and see if I can watch that with them. But I think he's a great fit for that. I'm excited. He is a phenomenal dancer, and I think he'll do it justice. I think he'll really work hard at that. And
the question is, do you think? I mean, I'm on board with it. Do you think though he's old enough? Because Fred Astaire in his prime was in his mid-40s, 50s.
Yeah, it's a good point. That is a good point. I didn't really think about it from that perspective. I don't know. I honestly don't know, unless it could be from his early life.
It'll probably be his entry into Hollywood, and I guess they'll age him up. And so long as it's always tricky when you age actors up because it very, very rarely goes well. Case in point, the end of Harry Potter, fucking awful.
Yeah, that was a bit cringe, a little bit. But yeah.
Well, let's stick with the Tom Holland stuff because I read that the big plan for the MCU is to have him be the replacement for Robert Downey Jr. as like the central sort of heart of the universe.
Yes, please.
Because you've got to have that anchor, that one character that pretty much the entire universe revolves around, or they sort of lead. And apparently their plan is for him, which makes sense because he's the youngest, means that he's got a lot ahead of him. Like as far as they can actually nail him down for quite a long time.
Yeah. Look. I'm not going to lie. I enjoy Tom Holland quite a lot. I think he's fantastic.
You don't say.
The fact that he's Spider-Man too. I mean, he's just great. I think he's just great. And if they decide to centralize that around him, then yay me. Like that's awesome. You know what I'm pissed off about? I'm pissed off that they made a series about Captain America and about God knows what else, and they still haven't made a Spider-Man series.
What do you mean?
As in with Tom Holland.
As in like a TV show series?
Yeah.
That'd be because Spider-Man is Sony, not Disney.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah, which I find very interesting. I mean, this is a little bit of behind the press curtain here.
You've told me this before, I think.
Well, no, there's an upcoming screening coming up of Spider-Man, and there's also an upcoming screening of West Side Story, and they coincide, so they're happening at the same time. And I thought that was quite interesting of Disney because they usually try to avoid crossing streams with other screenings. I
Mm,
found it interesting that Disney would put West Side Story on the same time as Spider-Man, given that it is still a co-Marvel production,
mm.
which is Disney. So it's like Sony Disney production. So they're giving
Competing against themselves.
they're giving like all the media like the ultimatum. Which one are you going to watch? You know.
Mm.
So I had to sort of decide which one am I going to see, and fortunately for me, it ended up just being an editorial choice. I got assigned to do West Side Story, so that's the one I'm going to be covering, which I probably would have anyway because it's Spielberg, and you know how I feel about Marvel in general.
Hmm.
Even though Spider-Man is probably my favorite of all the Marvels, and I will go and see it. But yeah,
If I was given that choice, as much as I love Spider-Man, I would go and see West Side Story any day.
oh yeah, absolutely, and I cannot fill my extra ticket. I think hopefully because Ben was going to take up the Spider-Man duties.
Ah, mm-hmm.
And I was going to go to West Side Story, and I had the +1 to take with me. And I'm like, hey, who wants to come? No one. But I think Ben might probably chuck in Spider Man and come with me to West
And
Side
go with
Story.
you. Yeah. So
Yeah.
whose is that? The guy from Divergent is playing the main guy from West Side Story, yes?
We prefer to call him the guy from Baby Driver.
Oh, love that movie. Oh my God. I forgot
So
he was
much
in
it
that.
turns you into a demon from hell.
Oh. I watched that just because of him. I didn't really
Yeah.
care what the movie was. I watched that just because of him. Love that movie.
Yeah.
So good. So good. I
That's
cannot.
Ed.
Oh.
That's Edgar Wright. If you love Edgar Wright's movies, go and see Last Night in Soho. That's his new one.
Ooh, okay. Good suggestion. Yeah, no.
It's really good.
Awesome.
And it might just tip you into the I kind of like genre movies now.
I don't think I didn't like genre movies. I'm
No,
very
I, I
picky.
mean I mean horror.
Oh, okay. We both know that I'm starting to get there. So,
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. This is the one that might push you in that direction.
oh, is it scary?
A little bit, not much. Like it's hard to explain. It's a riff of giallo movies from the 70s, which is a specific type of horror that the Italians did that was very dreamlike. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
it's a
Interesting.
good movie. You will appreciate everything about it, even if you don't like the horror stuff. You will appreciate the film itself because it's not all horror.
Good. I like that recommendation. I like the way you worded that. So that's one way
Yeah.
to push me over the edge. You can read me like a book these days, Glenn. Damn it.
I can manipulate.
I gotta play my cards closer to my chest now.
What else I haven't got much else. Did hear there was a 47 Ronin sequel being made,
I
which
think
is
I saw that.
that Keanu Reeves movie about like the
Oh.
samurais and all that kind of stuff, and it's very
Oh, okay.
mystical, fantastical. But it just
I
plays into
know.
it plays into what I was saying last week about Keanu Reeves is just it's banking on nostalgia these days. There's not a lot of originality coming from that man. He's just sort of what's worked in the past is what he wants to do. He wants to do Constantine again, and it's like, oh, come on, dude! Like, you're better than all this.
I saw a little thing. Can't remember if it's Nick Cage. Is Nick Cage playing the new Dracula or is that Keanu?
Nick Cage.
Nick Cage. Okay, so we'll leave that for a second. Keanu was looking at doing something completely different that he hadn't done before. And I follow a lot of movie Facebook pages and stuff like that. And people post things and I read the comments sometimes. And there was one about Keanu and just one random person write, "Oh no, Keanu doing something he's never done before. Is he feeling okay?" And I had a little chuckle because I'm like, I wonder if Glenn wrote that under anonymous.
Oh, it's true. Like, because he wants to do Point Break 2, I believe, or Constantine. He's got another John Wick coming. He's just done Bill and Ted 3, 47 Ronin, like Matrix, 4. Everything he's doing right now is stuff that's tried and true and has worked for him in the past.
Yeah, well, there you go. Stick to what you know. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, there's not. Well, there is actually. Like, I think it.
He's
We won't go
playing in
into it.
his lane. He's playing in his lane, which we've both decided is fine for an actor. However, the issue is we both know he's better than that. So,
Yeah, it's one sure way for people to hit Keanu fatigue, though.
well, that's true too. But he'll be making them dollars and he'll be happy and he won't have to work again. So,
Next he'll be doing Speed 3.
how good would that be? Get Sandy back on it?
Maybe he could do a Dracula spin-off and call it Harker, and he can have that really bad British accent.
No, he would have improved it by now, and that's just no fun.
Oh shit! What else have I got here? Well, you wanted to talk about Nicolas Cage doing Dracula, which is in the movie we talked about several weeks ago, which is was it Redfern or Redfield or Renfield?
Renfield,
Which,
yeah.
yeah, who was playing Renfield in that? I can't remember.
It's a really good question.
Help me out.
I want to say no, I have no idea. I honestly, I don't know.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Okay, but
It was
while
on
we're
the
on the
tip of my
subject
tongue.
of Nick Cage and just how gorgeous he is, and how much I love rewatching National Treasure for the podcast, it just made my week.
Nicholas Hoult. Yep.
Oh, yes, I remember now. Yeah, Nick and Nick.
Continue.
Yeah, and I just love him. You just forget how much you love him, and then you watch him again.
Hang on, who are you talking about now? Because
Nick
I lost.
Cage. Sorry,
Oh,
Nick
yeah.
Cage.
Yeah, look, I take or leave him. He was once great. He's a fallen star. Did it to himself, but his
So
resurgence
harsh,
now.
Glenn.
His resurgence now has been pretty spectacular for horror fans like me because he's really dived into some great horror stuff in the last 5 to 10 years.
Good on him.
From Color Out of Space, which was like my favorite film of the year before last. That was amazing. And he did Mandy, which was incredible. These are movies that were produced by Elijah Wood and Spectrovision.
Okay.
Very art housey kind of horror. Then he did Willy's Wonderland, where he didn't speak a line of dialogue. This year he had Pig, which is a great revenge film.
I heard that was really good.
It is, and it's so he's gone from because he fell from grace when he bankrupted himself and had to take on all these direct-to-video movies like Left Behind and shit like that, Seeking Justice, just to get money so he could pay off what was it? 13 houses he lost. He owned 13 houses and lost them all, something like that. And now he's finally in a position where he's realized that he's gaining a lot of traction doing horror because there's a huge frenzied fan base. And the fans of horror are fans like no other, as I said before. So they just embrace him and draw him in, and he's really tapped into that.
That's great. Good on him. Honestly, if he's having a comeback and it's working for him, then that's great. And it's great for the fans, then works for everybody, doesn't it?
Yeah, it definitely does. And the funny thing about the Dracula one, he has done a vampire film before, which was called Vampire's Kiss back in the 80s. And I don't know if you know Nicolas Cage stories from the 80s, because he was the epitome of method actor, right? And
oh no.
For that role, and I'm pretty sure this is not urban legend, that it's fact, he pulled out his incisor teeth with like pliers to prepare for the role for that. Yeah, that's insane.
Nick, no.
But if you watch any kind of interview with him back in the 80s, he was just coked off his head and insane.
Yeah.
There's a great video of him on a talk show where he comes out wearing leather pants and leather jacket and does a fucking flip on stage. Like, here comes Nicolas Cage. He does a fucking full flip, like a somersault, and then jumps on the couch like Tom Cruise as a maniac. And yeah, it's just...
How is that not viral? I need
should
to
be,
see
but
that.
I kind of think it was viral because that's how I came across it. It came up on my Facebook. Like, look at this old Nicolas Cage interview. It's great.
I've never seen that. I need to find that.
And he does a jump and his fucking microphone pack falls out and it's just catastrophe.
Jesus Christ. Bloody hell. The things you don't know, hey.
Well, here's something that will have zero interest for you, but maybe for some people that are watching. Do you know the Troma movies? No. Okay. So Troma is a trashy independent film company. They've been going for like 45 years now. They're famous for a specific brand of trash. So their most famous movies are The Toxic Avenger, and which is getting a Hollywood remake at the moment. Also Sergeant Kabuki Man, Class of Nukem High. It's all gross out comedy horror. Very cheap, very nasty. Anyway, they're a big deal. We've had the president of the company on our show. And once again, the fans are like fevered. They're the best. But they've just announced that they're creating their own Tromaverse. So they're going to cross over all their characters from their movies. Oh, James Gunn came from Troma. So he's famous for writing a few Troma films. He did Tromeo and Juliet. That's what made him famous.
Wow.
Right? Yeah, and it's like punk, hardcore punk Shakespeare. It's great.
That sounds fun.
And Troma's most recent film was called Shakespeare Shitstorm, or hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, which was glorious. No other movie has a whale jumping over a cruise ship and then taking a big shit on everybody. It's just the best.
No.
It's
Oh,
great.
no.
It's great. And you can bet there's lots of naked chicks getting dumped with shit and naked guys with their dicks out getting drenched with feces too. So it's just a
You know what?
glorious
I'm
shitbang.
okay with naked chicks if there's naked guys. It's just when there's naked chicks and no naked guys.
Troma
Like-
has more naked guys than naked girls.
That's fine.
They in Tromeo and Juliet, there's a famous scene where Tromeo unzips his pants and a giant cock monster comes out. Fucking... Speaking of cock monster,
Awesome segue. Carry on.
at Monster Fest the other day, in between sessions, Jarrett from the show and myself were just having a yak, and we were talking with a guy that owns Dead End DVD down in Mornington, who's been getting quite a bit of mention on the show. And we decided to go outside, so you know, we can just sort of have a chat in the fresh air and all that, get away from the crowds. And coming up Lygon Street, where the cinema is, was that naked bike ride. Did you see that in the news?
No.
It was like 100 people on bicycles, butt naked, right? Coming up the road.
I've seen it before. Is it like a charity thing?
I think it's more of a protesty kind of thing. It's like
cool.
a peaceful protest. Like, I would protest not doing a naked bike ride because, tell you what, in the media, that looks hilarious. I see it on Facebook. Fucking hell, that is hilarious. When you're there in person, it's a horror movie unto itself.
That's
and
a lot
I'll
of
tell you
balls.
what, every single dude, this is funny, every single dude had a micro penis, right? They were all fucking like this, right? And we're just cacking ourselves, right? And I guess maybe it's the being on a bike in the open air with the breeze. Maybe it just, retreats.
Biologically, I think that happens when they get a bit cold.
Here comes the stereotype black guy on a bike with the fattest dong just hanging over the bar. I tell you what.
Way to
hilarious.
represent, babe. Way to represent.
And there's like probably of the 100. So let's just say there's 100 people in this bike ride. 80% of them were dudes, and there's a few women in between. But I can tell you what, it was sweaty. It was gross, and the guy at the end is a really fat guy with the most micro penis I've ever seen. And he had like chafing, so he couldn't ride his bike, so he's
was
struggling.
He naked walking his bike?
He struggled, and he hopped off and pushed his bike up the road, and then you can see his ass was all chafed and red, and oh my god!
No.
And if you're watching this video, mate, salute you. I can tell you what.
Good on you, babe.
You made our day, but hey, bike riders, you also went up Lygon Street where there were families everywhere and kids galore looking at all these dicks and flaps fucking riding by. I tell you what.
My kids would have had a field day. They would have thought it was the best thing ever. They're obsessed with that kind of stuff at the moment and like how funny it is. So they would have loved that.
If my kids were that age, I would have said, get up on the chairs, on the tables, like have a look at this. Get a good view of this. You won't see this every day.
That into the memory.
But I was torn between watching this like sausage fest fly by, and then watching the families and how they were reacting. Like, do they cover their kids' faces? Like, what? Most parents seem to just sort of, fortunately, between the diners, there was like a hedge, so they kind of just had their kids sitting down, and naturally, all the dads are like, "What the fuck's this all about?" And there were phones everywhere, just
Yeah. Well, if you're gonna ride your bike naked down Lygon Street, you're gonna get filmed in this day and age. I'm sorry, but that's just gonna happen.
Yep. But tell you what a moment to step outside. Like, it was right as we stepped out.
You had your spidey senses tingling that you're going to see a whole bunch of cock, and you just were like, "Get me outside!"
Yep. And it'll
You're
never be
denying
unseen.
it. You're like, yeah.
It'll never. Well, we were like school kids because we went right back upstairs. And we're like, you'll never guess what we just saw. And what's even worse is that Ben was upstairs and missed it. And if anyone's going to appreciate what we saw, it is Ben Helwig.
He missed the boobs. He would have been devastated.
I think he would have been like us, not focused on the boobs. He would have been focused on the dicks like we were.
Fair enough.
Something inherently funny about those things.
You will never, ever forget that?
No.
Ever.
but I wouldn't want to hop on any of those bikes. And some of them were those, those rental Melbourne City bikes.
Oh no.
You know how they say that like there's like
Come
thousands
on,
of
guys.
you know how they say there's thousands of bicycles in the Yarra River?
That's why.
That's where I'd be putting those.
That's
Like,
why.
yeah, where do we
Burn them.
where do we leave the bike in the river, please?
Burn it like at
Yeah.
the stake and exercise those demons.
Well, I'm going to just hazard a guess. This is about 30 minutes, and what better way to sign off than with a bit of sausage talk?
Always. My
Riding
favorite.
along on the push bike, honey.
Cock and balls everywhere. Jazz hands.
Fondle those.
Jazz hands.